From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your morning update.
Cascade Paint Supply is Reading's oldest family-owned paint store, established in 1953. We are the largest Dunn Edwards dealer in the nation, and most of our products are made in the U.S. Our friendly and knowledgeable staff are ready to answer your questions and help you today.
Good morning, everyone. If you happen to be in a hurry, you've got to get out the door real quickly, you just need to know what's going on with the weather for the day, then check out Kruger's QuickCast. All you got to do is go to weathernorcal.com and forecast, click on the forecast videos, and pretty much where you get this video is where you're going to be able to find Kruger's QuickCast as well. You can also access from the free Weather NorCal app. It takes about a minute, 2 minutes tops, and you will know what to expect as you head out the door. And it's going to be hot, it's going to be cold, it's going to be windy, right? You will get an idea of what to expect. So check it out, Kruger's QuickCast. Here's what we can take a look at our weather headlines. We've got it heating up once again. We saw a stretch of 110 plus degree temperatures in Reading. 6 days. That tied the record that we saw twice with that stretch of 6 days. That stretch was broken yesterday. We were able to stay below 110 degrees, but we're back up again. We're going to see another stretch of 110 plus degree temperatures, just not as long. It's going to be hot and dry. It's going to keep those conditions, as far as the fire conditions, are going to be elevated. And we've got the potential for mountain thunderstorms this weekend. We're going to talk about that in a little bit more detail. And then highs will be closer to normal by next week. So as we go into Sunday, Monday, we're finally getting those temperatures closer to normal. And speaking of temperatures, a lot of, with all these broken records and, all-time highs, people just questioning what those numbers are like. Well, and I eventually will probably, hopefully, do a more detailed look at how to properly, place a temperature gauge, right? But this right here, this is the way it's done, my friends. This is the way it is historically been done and the most accurate. You have a white box, so it's going to, not attract the heat. It's ventilated, and there's the temperature gauge right there. It's the maximum and minimum thermometer. Now, of course, you got the anemometer for the winds, and of course, the rain gauge right over here. But this also is about 4 feet, give or take, off the ground. That's also a good source. And look at what we have on the ground here. It's not really going to help to really reflect that heat upwards. So again, this is really one of the best ways that you can record the temperature. But most of us don't do that. But I want to thank Curtis Brown for sending in that image. And by the way, I wanted to share your photos from the free Weather NorCal app. All you got to do is just go scroll to the bottom of the app, share your photos, and it will walk you through the whole process. I want to see your photos. How are you staying hot? How are you staying cool, that is, in this heat? Are you in a pool? All the different things that we have around here, just beautiful scenery in general. And I want to share one a day. So you can see it right here on the morning update on Coffee with Kruger and on social media. So be sure to check that out. All right, here's your neighborhood forecast at a glance. It's going to be a sunny day in the valley. It's going to be another 110 plus degree temperature, at least for Reading. Hazy, smoky for places like Trinity County, Siskiyou County, and Modoc County. But the coast, low 60s, mostly sunny. Eventually, of course, we're seeing some of that fog in the morning. And the eastern mountains, you're looking at sunny skies and most likely a little over 100 degrees. All right, let's take a look at the latest coming in from the Shelley fire. Now, keep in mind as you're watching this, this is the latest data coming in between the hours of 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning as I'm recording this, okay? So, based on that, knowing that information, if you're watching this, just under 7,000 acres. Most likely overnight it may have grown, and hopefully maybe some containment, but we don't know that just yet. That's the fire perimeter right there. Let's get a better perspective coming in from Scott Valley, because these are the communities we're most concerned about. You've got Etna right there, and again, we've got that mountain range that then comes right down into Scott Valley. So we take a look at Greenview. You've got that drainage right here, right? That little valley, and that is coming, as you're looking from Greenview, that fire is kind of staring you in the face, isn't it? Now, we head out towards Fort Jones, a little bit farther away from the fire. There's the community of Fort Jones. Again, you can look off in the distance there and see where the fire is. Now, let's take you out to Mugginsville. Of course, we've got some different roads here. Mill Creek Road, right? That kind of goes up into the mountains there. You can see the perimeter here. It's just kind of coming up over that ridge. So once we get on the downside of that, that's obviously something we want to watch here. And I'm sure the firefighters are doing everything they can to prevent that from happening, right? Then we take you out to Kidder Creek, right? So this right here is, I believe it's Kidder not this, it's Kidder Road, right? And then that kind of goes right there into that drainage right there. So again, you can clearly see where that fire perimeter is. So once again, we kind of take a look at the wider perspective of this. And, you know, we take a look also at their overall distances to these communities. And I was mentioning it's farther away from Fort Jones, almost 10 miles, but look at this. I mean, these numbers, as we see these new perimeters come out, it's getting just slowly closer to these communities. 4.9 miles from Greenview and 5.7 miles from Etna. Once again, the Shelley fire, 6,800 acres, as of between 5 and 6 o'clock this morning on Wednesday, with 0% containment. Hopefully that changes here as we get the later update later this morning, and not to mention this afternoon. There's a look at your smoke forecast, 5 p.m. Of course, it's the vicinity of the fire where we're seeing most of the smoke, obviously, but we are seeing it kind of spill over into places like northern Trinity County, of course, western Siskiyou County, eastern Siskiyou County, even into Modoc County. However, most of that smoke and haze for Modoc County is coming in from the fire in southern Oregon. This right here most likely is going to be all that noticeable. You may notice just a little orange tint in the air, and that will probably be about it. There you can kind of see it spread southward, and a little bit more of that haze coming in Thursday morning, spreading southward, and then that kind of dissipates, right? And then you can see another little plume of smoke near Etna. And then that smoke kind of coming down back into eastern Siskiyou County and Modoc County by the time we go into tomorrow night. So again, there's going to be areas, especially to the south, it's not going to be quite as bad, but still looking at some haze and smoke out there in a few select areas. The winds, yeah, we continue to see the afternoons where, yeah, it's still breezy and breezier than we would like it to see. Even tomorrow morning, not much relief. It's still looking at that north wind, but once again picking up, especially in the eastern mountains, Shasta Valley, some of the typical spots that we've seen here over the last few days. Now, again, the good news is we're still seeing some pretty good relative humidity recovery in the overnight and early morning hours, but it dries out again in the afternoon. Now, what I'm noticing though, and we are seeing higher humidity levels for western Siskiyou County and Trinity County. This should help a little bit in the firefighting efforts, especially of the Shelley fire, not to mention the Mena fire down just south of Trinity County. Again, that recovery going into your Thursday morning, but it dries out again going into the afternoon. In fact, it looks like Thursday afternoon, it may be even a little bit drier than what we're going to see here for today. So let's take a look at that fire weather risk, mainly due to the heat and dry conditions. We've got that high fire danger for the valley and a few select spots, especially for Siskiyou County, Modoc County, and the eastern mountains in general. It looks like it actually picks up in intensity here as far as the fire danger is concerned on Thursday, especially for the valley. Once again, those winds trying to pick up a little bit as well. Here's another thing. I've been kind of going out in time here, and you can see as we go into Saturday, I'm talking about the potential for thunderstorms in the higher elevations. That is going to be a concern where we're talking about the potential for lightning in these areas. I think this might be projecting a little bit farther to the west, and I'm thinking Bernie, Mount Shasta, Wairika, that might be pushing it, but I would say in this general area right here is where we would have, of course, eastward is where we'd have the best chance for some of those thunderstorms. We're going to get into those thunderstorms, where I expect those to be here in just a second. Let's talk about the heat waves still impacting many parts of the western United States. We're beginning to see some areas expire as it's not going to be as hot. So you can see some areas where we're not seeing those warnings, and we're going to watch this become less lit up, especially to the north. But still, a lot of these watches and warnings for Northern California, California in general, are through Friday. So this is going to continue, at least for Northern California, through the end of the week. All right, so you can see there's an area of low pressure right here. We've got high pressure in place. Now, eventually this low pressure system is going to have an impact on our weather. Not necessarily this one, but another one coming in behind it. So, a couple of things we've been talking about is the bubble of heat. This bubble of heat has been expanding, that is, growing and getting larger, and our temperatures as a result are going to be warmer than they were yesterday. But you can see how it's kind of pushing off to the east, especially by the time we get into Friday and this weekend. Now, what's going to happen is we are going to see this kind of push off to the east. Temperatures drop a little bit more by Sunday. Now, I don't want you to get too alarmed when you watch what happens, all right? Because look what happens. This area of high pressure actually comes on back, and it looks like the forecast model data decided not to work properly. But something happened here. But basically what's happening is we've got another ridge of high pressure building in. Not as strong though. Okay, that's the key. It won't be as strong, which means temperatures are just going to be hovering just slightly above normal for this time of the year. So again, kind of what we take from all of this is the fact that we will pretty much end this main heat wave by the end of this week, and then temperatures should get back closer to normal by the time we do get into early next week, really even as early as Sunday. Remember that stretch of 110 plus degree temperatures I've been telling you about over the last several days? 6 days is what we did see, starting Wednesday, July 3rd, all the way through through Monday, we saw 110 degrees or higher. Look at that. We were shy by 1 degree to keep that stretch going. Because the thing is, when we look at the records here, we tied the record in 1978, 1988 as well, and then of course we broke the record in 1920. But you see what's happening? We're back up to 110 plus for at least 3 days, if not 4. So if we had made it to 110 plus, we would have shattered that 6-day trend record, right? Instead, it would have been like 6 and then 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe even 11 days. It would have been, but that's gone now. We got another 3 to 4 day stretch coming in though for the next few days. But again, remember, let's talk about temperatures dropping back down. Look at the normal high now. It's 100 degrees. So we're going to be right around that or just above that starting Sunday and really through all of next week. So, right, there is the end in sight of this heat wave. Oof, right? How nice is that? Okay, so let's take a look at chances for rain, the fog, the cloud cover out there. Yeah, we're still seeing some of that fog along the coast here. And as we go into your Thursday, right, there you can see Thursday, there you are seeing a little bit of that fog still kind of making its way. It's going to try to break apart. You know, you're going to see some of that off and on foggy conditions here, and it breaks apart, especially in the afternoon hours. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at Futurecast now, and this is what I'm talking about. As we go into Saturday, we've got this area of high pressure right here, the flow around that high pressure. This is all the monsoon moisture that you're seeing right here, the afternoon thunderstorms popping up. Some of this could work its way as far west as the eastern mountains of Northern California. Now, again, the concern with that will be the potential for some dry lightning. So again, we'll continue that flow of monsoon moisture coming in. Starting Saturday, it could last into Sunday and even parts of next week as well. So that is going to be something that I'm watching and monitoring very closely. It's not something we have to worry about just yet, but as we get into the weekend, we'll probably start getting a better handle on as to whether or not those thunderstorms will work their way that far west. So yeah, right? It's not just the hot, dry, and windy conditions we got to contend with. Now there's that potential. We're going to have to watch for the potential for lightning strikes. All right, so here's your wave heights for today. They're not going to be that bad, but you'll notice here as we go into your Thursday that those wave heights are actually starting to increase a little bit here. So eventually, we are going to see a small craft advisory and maybe even a hazardous seas warning as we go into tonight and into Thursday. But for now, we're just going to be looking at that patchy fog out there, and that should be the extent of it. Notice the hazy skies, hazy, a little smoky for parts of Trinity County, but still very hot for your daytime highs today. For the coast, I don't expect to see any haze or smoke, but yeah, we'll call it partly cloudy because there will be some of the breaks in those in that fog throughout the day. Probably more in that mid-level range is what we're looking at where most of those clouds will be. Inland, again, a little hazy, maybe even today, but mostly likely even going into your Thursday as well. We take you off to Siskiyou County. Hazy, smoky skies here for your Wednesday, Thursday, and then of course it looks like temperatures will start to drop as we get, especially for the second half of the weekend and early next week. Now, the haze and smoke we're seeing from Modoc County, it's not coming in from the Shelley fire, it's actually coming in from the fire from southern Oregon, believe it or not. Temperatures around the upper 90s to even about 100 degrees here. Eastern mountains could get a little hazy. Some of that smoke and haze by tomorrow could make its way here, but looking at about 98 degrees for Westwood, 102 for Susanville, 100 in Shingletown, Paradise about 102 degrees. In your Valley neighborhood forecast, brought to you by NorCal Tractor, there may be a little haze in there, especially to the north, but for the most part, we're talking sunny skies. Temperatures around 110 degrees, even for Chico through Friday, but temperatures do start to drop, and you'll have a more noticeable drop by early next week. 106 degrees for Whiskeytown, 111 Out in the city of Shasta Lake and Palisadro, about 112. 102 would be a lot nicer, wouldn't it? And we take a look at your 7-day outlook for Redding. Look at those temperatures, 110 degrees or higher, maybe even through Saturday. But again, we are back down to more, I guess, tolerable temperatures for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday of next week.
We're the locals down the street. The neighbor you come to for advice. A nest egg for the golden years. A loan or a new account for that growing business. What started in Chico 50 years ago has taken us all around California, providing big bank lending power and high-tech service, while keeping our relationships personal. We're still the locals down the street, no matter where your street might be. Tri-Counties Bank, California's local bank.